Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 3rd meeting of the Penfield Conservation Board. So tonight we have with us Roseanne Cohen, Noel Schlageter, Daniel Moore, Paul Sugnett, and myself, Jim Almstead. And we're ably assisted by Doug here, representing the town. And we thank everyone for being with us tonight. So, approval of minutes from our meeting of July 6th. If everyone has a copy and has had a chance to look that over, are there any corrections needed to the minutes? They look pretty complete.
A spelling error.
Okay.
Oh. Page 3. Up from the bottom, XXIV, as in a statement I made, the word should be from, not form.
Oops. That's all right. Got that changed.
That's eagle eye there, Noel.
Yeah, it's a good
Nice
thing
done.
I read them before we got here.
All right. Anything else? So motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
And no objections, the minutes are approved, and we thank you, Doug. And do we have any communications?
We don't, not this time, no.
Okay. Anything from the public?
Not at this time.
So I guess we can start with Highland Estates, 2745 Penfield Road. I think this is the one that you said there hadn't been a lot of activity at this point, so I think we delayed our report for another month. Is that correct?
We did, and we received, what had happened is the day of our last Conservation Board meeting, we had just received that application in. The applicant, it was our understanding at that time that the applicant who had an admin review for a single house on the property was going to withdraw that. He stated at that time or after that meeting that their intent was to get that admin approved and do the preliminary final application. We let them know that we won't review two applications on the same property at the same time. So he had to choose between the two. In choosing, they chose to withdraw their admin application for single-family residence and instead move forward with the preliminary final application. In doing so, they resubmitted documents on July 30th, updated documents on July 30th, which is what I have printed out over there for Roseanne and Pat with updated details. So it will be going before the planning board on September 9th.
And our meeting is on?
I think that one's actually on the 16th of September. No, 14th of September. But I believe we have a request from PCTV to possibly move that up to the 7th. So we can take a look. It'll either be the 7th or the 14th.
Well, is there any harm in our making a decision here that it will be on the 7th?
I think the 7th is a Jewish holiday. I don't know if that makes a difference for anybody else.
Yes?
We do not need the 7th.
You do not need the 7th? Okay, then we're good for the 14th. I couldn't remember, I knew there was a date possibly in the future.
But
that
if
might
we
have a conflict.
give our report on the 14th, is that going to be of any use?
Yes, so the planning board will begin their review on the 9th, or they'll hold their public hearing on the 9th. This is a secret type 1 action because the property directly to the west is listed on the National Historic Register, and the properties around it is in the northeast or the East Agricultural District for Monroe County, which also put it into a type 1 action territory. So it will necessitate a further review. It's not going to be a 1 meeting or 2 meeting application. So the planning board will have ample time to review it.
So I know Pat's not with us tonight, Roseanne, but would it be your understanding that you and Pat will be able to put together a report for us for the September meeting?
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Okay, that's great, and we thank you for that. Should we spend a little time with these? Probably not. I think whatever you and Pat find with your report on the 14th, I have an extra copy up here which you can take
Oh.
with you and see that
Yeah, I gotta
Pat
get
gets it.
that.
Okay. All right, I noticed that we're going to talk about Panorama Park and stormwater design modification, and apparently they had a washout. So can you show us some details of that?
Yes, so first thing I'm going to bring up on the screen here is, just to familiarize yourself, so this is sort of at the top of the hill. This is what they came in for initially, was Lot 1, or Building A, as they came in for. It was a 40,000 square foot multi-tenant office building. So they began construction of that in late 2019, early 2020. It was recently completed. The intent was, and they did have stormwater running along the western border that would drain down and eventually, oops, it's going to pull that away, drain into a drainage way and pond that they have lower on the property. What is happening is the mobile home park directly to their west really doesn't have any drainage infrastructure, substantial infrastructure, and any infrastructure that they do have is not in particularly good shape. So most of the water during heavy rain events sheet flows east off of the mobile home park down that steep slope and is causing pretty heavy erosion. So there was one day, I believe it was the 21st, where we got something like 3.5 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And it was actually carrying some of the large stones that you see on this screen, actually carrying them down the hillside. Some of those rocks, being the size of, approximately the size of the tables in here. So carrying very large rocks a very far distance. Unfortunately, there's only they only have limited ability to control what comes off of the neighboring property. And we will be doing what we can to require the neighboring property to handle their own stormwater. But they're looking to the future and looking to protect their own property. The Panorama Park is looking to modify their current drainage design. So what you see on the screen here, this is, up here is the existing Building A. They're proposing to run a manhole and inlet from the property line of the mobile home park to the south, to an area of the lot that is currently not developed. It's where they came in initially for Building B, but withdrew their application. There is a natural area up there, and we have a few photos, courtesy of Mark Valentine and Mike O'Connor. So Building A, for reference, is over here. There is an area with a depression. Just south of Building A. You can sort of see it here. It does drop down. That they want to turn into a stormwater holding facility. So it will detain water and let it out at a slow rate, discharging it from the depression into the storm sewer system that runs along the road, running it down the road to the primary stormwater pond at the bottom of the hill. So their intent with that is to try to capture some of the water that is currently sheet flowing off of the mobile home park direct it away from the steep slope into a smaller pond, and then discharge that pond into the main storm sewer system.
Do I remember correctly that before the construction of Panorama Park even began, they had experienced some issues with drainage, and that the townhomes at the bottom of the hill had some concerns about that?
The townhomes at the bottom did have some concerns for runoff into Allen's Creek. The owners of Panorama Park have done a pretty good job of shoring up along along Allen's Creek in that area. In this case, this is discharging down the hill towards their other stormwater pond. Where that water ended up, I don't know if it went directly into Allen's Creek or if it ended up in one of the other ponds. There's also a pond for Thermo Fisher further down the hill.
So this recent washout did not affect the townhomes?
Not that I'm aware of. None of it really directly, none of it affects the quality of life for the townhomes. It's not a flooding concern for the townhomes or anything like that. The townhomes did have concern because Allen's Creek and Irondequoit Creek runs adjacent to their properties. There is a natural aesthetic beauty to creeks, and that was their concern. They didn't have any concern regarding drainage or flooding issues. So as far as we're aware, it did not result in any impacts to the mobile or to the townhome community to the north. It is only significantly affecting the Panorama Park properties. And so they're going to do what they can to mitigate on their side. Unfortunately, they can't go onto their neighbor's property and just, do stormwater improvements. Though, they may be trying to discuss that route with them. But from what they can do on their side, they're looking to control it more through piping and less on drainage channels and check dams and riprap.
Other board members have observations and concerns?
Doug, can you go back to the plan and show where the water's going to come down and go into a pond?
Mm-hmm.
And then how's it going to get over to the pond down below? New piping or what?
New piping.
Okay.
So
All right, so they're going to have to put more
turn
pipes
it
in.
off the
Okay.
contours here. So right now there is naturally a depression right along here where it dips
Yeah.
in and drops about 3 feet.
Yeah.
And creates sort of a natural bowl. So what they're going to do is try to run pipe along the edge of their property line with the mobile home park, catch it before it flows down the hillside, and direct it into this pond, which can act as a holding facility to hold a quantity of water, especially in really heavy rain events. That pond will then discharge into a pipe that carries it into the existing storm sewers that run on either
okay.
side of Parker Hill Drive, which is the road serving Panorama Park. And then from there, it'll drain in their existing system. They may upsize some of the pipes that they have in there. I'm not 100% sure on that it's still sort of in the works. But that would then drain it down to their existing stormwater pond, which is down around here. It will necessitate the removal, I believe, of 2 trees. I know one is already a dead tree on the property there. It was one that, when we walked it, gosh, it must have been 12, 14 months ago, was already a dead tree or was a dying tree. But they will have to remove one tree as part of at least one tree as part of that, which is why we wanted to bring it to you guys, just to let you know what they're looking to do. It will be going before the planning board as a work session item, as a field change or a site plan modification at the August 12th work session.
Any other concerns or comments? We come to review of ongoing projects, and I'd like to start with the one on Plank Road just to the east of Jackson. And on my way here tonight, I saw that the clearing has now come out very close to Jackson, as well as extensive clearing as I look back on the Plank Road side of things. Where did we end up with respect to approval of that project? I thought it was still pretty much in limbo because they were trying to decide what to do with sewers.
So the project was approved back in 2019. They did come back, gain reapproval in 2020 under a new developer. From our understanding, that the original developer pulled out of the project, and the engineering firm sold the approved plans to another developer. They are currently sort of in limbo regarding sewers. So the development would have to be sewered based on the design. It would need to be serviced by sanitary sewers. The lots, several of the lots would not support septic design on them. They have two options, and the primary option, the one that they really want to go with, or would be the easiest one to go with, is running sewers up Jackson Road and connecting into the town system around Jackson and State Road. As part of that, there is currently a restriction in that area, just from older sewer system sections right around the intersection. And that all flows north into Webster and is serviced by Webster's water treatment facility plant, the town's plant. We have been in discussions, long discussions with the town of Webster about doing a bypass for that area to provide additional sanitary sewer units to the north side of Penfield. The town has done engineering and design work on our side and done some limited surveying, even over into Webster, to provide and facilitate for that. Webster is still doing their engineering phase on their side. So at this point, they're waiting on Webster to essentially give the okay. Penfield's given the okay and said, you know, we'll come to the table when Webster is okay with it. So until that, put that on hold. They do have the option to run sewers down Plank Road to Shoecraft. It is a further distance, and the grades are not as favorable, so it would require a little bit more extensive digging to support laying sewers along Plank Road to Shoecraft. So it is generally the more costly option. So at this point, they're sort of playing a waiting game to see if Webster comes through. If Webster comes through and they do get that sewer design in and that bypass in, they will run sewer down Jackson to Webster. If they don't, they will eventually run sewer down Plank to Shoecraft.
Would it be a true statement that when we gave our opinions and the planning board gave its approval on this project, that what we're dealing with now is a different layout and different placement of homes than what we saw when we first looked at this project?
There was a minor change to reduce the length of the road. So I do believe they brought off a cul-de-sac. I believe we had the board take a look at that. I'm looking back in the 2020 folder to see.
My point is, I guess, that there's a lot of clearing going on right now, and of course we never know in the early days of looking at a project exactly where the homes are going to be placed, where the streets are going to be, and you know, a lot of trees are being felled right now, and nobody's really looking at that from a...
The engineering department does weekly inspections of the site, and so they are watching it. We are in contact both with the developer and the engineers on that project, so we are keeping an eye on it.
Okay. All
They're
right.
still working on that project. I mean, there's people there all the time working on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
at this
there's a lot
point, the
going
furthest they
on.
can do is the limited clearing. At this point, they have not been cleared to go any further. They can't do any digging on site. They've only gained approval from the engineering department to do the selective clearing and mowing and to store some of the pipe. I believe right now it's a storm sewer pipe that they have on site. They got approval to do that, so it reduced traffic on the road there. They weren't going to have to do multiple deliveries. They were able to do it in a single run.
Any other ongoing projects that you'd like to update us on?
Let's see, at this time, I don't believe there's any that have started significant construction recently. 3090 Atlantic next door, they have started removing the old accessory structures, so we believe that'll start developing out here relatively soon. We are still waiting on a few items from them, so we are keeping an eye on that one as well. That's the property just to the west of Town Hall. It'll be 5 lots. Other projects going on. There was an approval for an urgent care at the former site of the Tom Walls on 2070 Empire Boulevard. I believe they're going to be starting construction on that relatively soon. So you'll see that going in. Those are the most significant projects that we have going on. We have a lot of single-family residences that are currently under review. I think we've had 7 or 8 admin applications this year. So there will be some single lots that are developing, you'll see developing over the next year or so.
Can you just give us an update on the intersection of 5 Mile and Browncroft? Because some days there's like nothing there, and other days like today, or I went through, it was a mess.
Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of information on that. The engineering department attends the biweekly meetings with the state DOT. I do know they were having issues between some of the utility companies and wiring on the poles. With coordination, there was some delays in getting some utilities removed, and there were some delays getting some utilities moved out of the right-of-way. That has sort of delayed them. As far as anything that's causing current delays, I'm not aware, unfortunately, but I can ask the engineering department for an update and report that back to you guys.
Is there going to be a turning lane in both directions? I mean, north and south and east and west?
Yes. So I'll pull up. Actually, I might have it here. Give me just a moment, because I think I have the plans for that. With that one. Okay, I don't think I have a map with that one, but let's see if I can pull it up on the website. Yes, so eventually, so this is the intersection north, south, east, or west, east. So there will be, heading south on 5 Mile, there will be a left turn lane and right turn lane pocket onto Atlantic. Heading north on 5 Mile, there'll be a left turn pocket, and heading east and west on Atlantic Avenue, there'll be a turn pocket. From what I understand, there will not be, they will not be signalized with arrows. There will just be the dedicated turn pocket in each direction. So right now, I believe they're currently in the phase where they're working on, they'll be realigning 5 Mile. So 5 Mile will move a little to the east, as you're seeing, where they're digging now. But they're pretty early. My understanding is they're still hopeful to be completed by the fall.
Thank you.
When do we expect to see construction begin on Howitt's project?
They're still finalizing some things. I know the most recent holdup was they were working on the plat map, just because there are a number of properties that were approved as part of that. They're subbing some of them together. I know they had some back and forth with the staff in Costello, Jim Costello. I believe we just recently received a revised plat map, so we're still reviewing that. My best guess would be, in the next 3 to 6 months, but I don't know their schedule, unfortunately.
So will we be taking another look at that project or not?
The project's approved at this point. The debate or their issue has largely come down to how they subdivide the properties together.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions about projects in town? And Roseanne, do you have some updates from the EMC? Or?
They don't meet in the summer.
Okay.
They don't meet June, July, and August.
Yeah, okay. One thing we need to discuss tonight is that we plan, starting in September, to have our meetings begin at 7:30. Are all the skids greased for that?
Yes. Yep, so we should be all set starting next month to begin meeting at 7:30 p.m. So
Okay.
PCTV is aware, they've made adjustments, and I've talked with the powers to be here at Town Hall, so we'll have the doors and things operable at those hours.
So with respect to our public information available on site on our website, it'll show the correct times
Yes.
starting in September. Okay. Anyone have any other questions that we need to discuss tonight?
No, sir.
Well, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All right. And again, no objections. I guess we are adjourned, and thank you all.
Vote with your feet.